Hello, lovely people. Oh, I'm a bit emotion. Kind of feels like coming home. So, my name is Rebecca, aka previously known as Jyoti. And for many, 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 many years, I was alive on this channel sharing about the dream spell. And I am here to share with you insights and information and magic about the incoming galactic year on July the 26th, 2026. So before we start, the backdrop is really important. So within the dream spell, we are moving through 13-day cycles, 13 moon cycles, and 13-year cycles. So this video speaks to where we are at in our 13-year cycle of time and what we can expect to be experiencing for the 13 moons that begin with the rebirth of Sirius on the 26th of July 2026. So this grand cycle of time, this 13-year cycle of time, began for us all as a collective human race on the 26th of July 2019. So we began a new 13-year cycle of human evolution, collective human evolution. And we are now approaching the 8th year of that process. So the whole 13-year adventure is guided by primarily the archetype of the White Wizard. So the White Wizard is all about the transmutation of the pain body to alchemize our subconscious shadow realms into sovereign creative power. That can sound a little bit far out. It can sound a little bit word salady, but I'm going to really explain throughout this video what that means. So in terms of the human vessel, we have all of these energetic layers, of who we are. And we have all these aspects of what it means to be a human. And we've primarily been living for a while in the mind. So self is determined by mind. Reality is determined by mind. We navigate through reality by mind. It's all about like analytical thinking and trying to figure shit out. Well, that's not all of us, is it? We also have these spiritual aspects to our beings where we can feel really connected and we can have these synchronistic experiences, which, many humans are beginning to open to now outside of religious frameworks. And then we also have the emotional body. Now, even though we've kind of moved into a collective awareness of mental health in the West, and that mental health needs support, and sometimes our super chatty, super negative, super grumpy minds need some extra support. We're only beginning to touch upon the potential of the emotional body. Now, with the mind, the higher mind is our place of visioning, receiving vision, and manifestation. Our emotional body, however, is a different vibe altogether. So our emotional body, which is what we are working with for this 13-year process that began in 2019, completely and utterly dictates what's happening with everything else. We are coming out of a time where the emotional body has been and had to be really suppressed. Horrendous things happened on the planet for humanity People had to play roles in wars that they didn't want to be playing, but they had no choice to. People experienced things that were fucking horrendous and then had to just carry on. They had to carry on to look after the kids. They had to carry on to look after the family. They had to carry on, keep calm and carry on. And then all of that energy starts to manifest. All of that unfelt emotion, that unprocessed emotion starts to manifest as toxicity coming out of us into the world, toxicity being experienced inside the body through illness and just a mess. When the emotional body is utilized as a portal for evolution, everything changes. And that's what this 13-year process is about for us. So obviously we know the collective in 2020, as we were still held within the first year of our collective initiation into the 13-year process. You know, we had COVID, and regardless of what your views are about how and why and what, it's a massive collective initiation that allowed us to access a lot of fucking fear. Whether it was fear of illness and survival in that capacity, whether it was fear of global agenda and everything that comes with that, or, you know, we were all initiated into fear. And what happens with fear in the emotional body, you know, we go into it and then all of the implications for that, you know, whether we're rebelling against it, whether we're being trapped by it. So the fear story came up and all the emotions, right? It was such a polarizing time that has then continued to repeat with different storylines over the past however many years. But each step that we take, we're going deeper. Now, something else has been very interestingly coming into a lot of the circles that I float around, which is the presence of Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene's gospel talks about the pain body as a labyrinth for human evolution. She talks about, you know, the shadows of the ego as portals, as necessary gateways for us to move through. So it makes complete sense to me that she's very present in the field at this time because she's the perfect guide for it. So last year, on the 26th of July, 2025, we moved into the resonant year, the 7th year of the process. So bearing in mind, this is a 13-year process. Once you get to the 7th year, you pass the middle. So we pass the middle of the spiral that we're moving through with this evolutionary journey. And that was, so right now as I record this, we're in the waning time of that archetypal energy, the yellow seed. So the yellow resonant seed. The yellow seed energy has been about planting new consciousness, new awareness, Christ consciousness. And if we think about what the seed as an archetype embodies, you know, there's this planting in the dark, breaking through a shell, a lot of trust, and not knowing if something is actually going to come to life or not. So now that we're in the end of that year, you know, we're really getting to reflect on like, okay, so based on all of this learning and all of these initiations and all of this experience that I've had since 2019 in my personal life, in our life as a collective human race, what are we planting? How do I feel about what has happened? Because we've all been really initiated. We've all been through a lot. Have I been able to feel it? Have I been able to process it? Am I changed as a result of it? And what have I now brought to the world as a result? And what am I taking forward into the world as a result? Now, as it's been this 7th year, this resonant year, the 7th resonant energy talks about what's still resonating. What's still resonating with the pain body? How has my outer world changed? And I know that for me, like this year has been a massive change in the spaces and the experiences that I used to feel resonant with, and the places and spaces and experiences that I now feel that I resonate with. So as we kind of in this moment of that energy closing, we are then opening slowly into the energy that is to come. So on the 26th of July, we move into the 8th year of the process. 4th year, foundation. 8th year is about what then is able, what have we built on that foundation? Yeah, what have we then created? And the other element of the energy of this 8th year is about integrity. So we've been through all these different things, and now we get to see, okay, this is the structure of life that's now being built. But the 8th year is also governed by the archetype of the red moon. So the red moon is about the divine feminine, and that's not anti-masculine. It's the element of our beings as a human being that exists in surrender and receptivity to what is there. So again, it's this teaching of coming out into them, out of the mind, into the feeling body. But if the feeling body is still holding all of these experiences where we have been terrified, then our ability to discern through the feeling body, our ability to surrender into the feeling body and stay safe is impacted. So this year, as we journey through the 13 moons of the year of the Red Galactic Moon, we're really looking at brand cycle, how to alchemize through the feeling body, through the emotional body, and also, you know, the other element that came through when I did that first video at the beginning of the 13-year cycle. It's about being able to bridge, which again is Mary Magdalene's vibe to the core, being able to bridge the human mundane reality with the cosmic galactic reality. How do we exist in both? What does it mean to be a human that is here at this time, experiencing reality? And one of the things that came up in that first video was about a pasty shop in the UK called Greg's, and how that is a mystical space because the whole fucking thing is mystical. But I think sometimes what happens when, you know, people open to spiritual reality is that they then reject the material, normal ways, things, see them as bad, and essentially project a lot of shame outwardly onto them. Like, that's not the spiritual, that's not good. But as Mary Magdalene's Gospel reveals, and as other elements of the Gnostic Gospels that were lost and have been recovered point to, like the Gospel of Thomas talking about, yeah, you know, making the two into one, and this whole idea of like the bridal chamber, which is essentially inner marriage, the inner marriage between our human self and our soul self. And I think, you know, for me, I had to, and this is what really this 13-year cycle for me personally has really been the unraveling of, that I can see so much clearer now as the years move on. I had to try and go into living in soul, living from higher self, because my pain body was so painful. So it was like, okay, if my identity isn't anchored in that, it's anchored in this, then I can kind of function. But then my pain body kept going louder and louder and louder and louder, and manifesting more and more and more things that were triggering more and more and pushing me to a brink where I then had to surrender in, primarily operating through the human with connection to higher self, connection to God. And the idea is that, you know, when human and soul self merge, when we exist in that beautiful relationship between the two, then our relationship with God is from an embodied place, which again is what the potential of this 13-year journey is inviting us into. But if we are not working with the pain body, if we are still finding it difficult to feel our feelings, finding it difficult to have emotional journeys with other people, which is something that was really big for me. It's like my nervous system couldn't handle it. Like I couldn't handle the conflict. So it took me years to find my voice, and then I found my voice, but then I couldn't handle the other's voice. Like it literally on a nervous system level, I'd go into like total shutdown or panic attack or when that, and now it's like, okay, the next layer has been how do both realities exist? So really this year that's coming is about the pain body, because the whole journey is about the pain body. But because we're in this energy of red moon, which is about receptivity, it's also about water. It's about the ocean, but also the waters inside, the emotions inside, and how we can give ourselves space and permission to feel it. And the thing with the emotional body, the mental body and its glitches can take us into sort of psychosis realms. The pain body and its glitches, if not processed, then we have to go here, which then can take us out into that. But when we go here, we then feel with a lot of elements of grief. Because really, the like epic fear and grief, in the bottom of both of those is a fear of death. The emotional body takes us to the fear of death. And this is the magic of the feminine, and this is why the red moon is the feminine archetype, because in the female body, we've got this womb that is going through a death cycle every month. Death, 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 death. That is the energy. And rebirth, and then birthing, like I'm pregnant now. So I'm currently growing a life, but it means that I'm not bleeding. So it's the first time in my life that I'm going through an experience of not bleeding since I started bleeding. And everything that comes with that. So the death's coming in a different way, and I'm kind of understanding the masculine more and how the death process manifests when it's not coming through the womb, and various threads to that don't necessarily need to be fully explored right now. But the point is, as we journey this year that's about integrity, that's about the pain body, that's about the feminine, the journey is an invitation for us to see how wide our capacity to feel is. How comfortable are we to allow ourselves to descend into that fear of death, that then as we return from, we bring that golden alchemized power to create with. And a really helpful framework, whether you've got a womb or not, is to look at the cycles of the womb. To look at, and it's the cycles of the womb are the same as the cycles of nature, right? It's like the seasons of nature. So we go through these periods of time where we're like in the planting, or in the like bounty, or in the beginning to shed, or in the super dark, and how comfortable can we be? So a reflection for the year is like, okay, what elements of the seasons do I really struggle with and why? And how can I work with my pain body to open to the elements that feel uncomfortable? So really exploring what is still trapped in my pain body, and what do I need to be able to allow that energy to move. It's an amazing year for therapeutic intervention. It's an amazing year if you are female to be working with your own womb. It's a really amazing year to be coming into spaces that are permissive around emotion, and to also then be in the transmission of that. So we're wanting to create a world that has more space for emotionality. But the shadow of that, which I think is what has been able to now be seen in terms of the way that a lot of the new parenting vibes are unfolding, is that if we don't have a container around emotion, if we don't have almost the boundaries around emotion, the transmission can be emotional responses and reactions will mean that you can have whatever you want, which isn't actually the way that reality works, you know. Regardless of if something really upsets us or not, we're probably going to have to somehow get okay with feeling those feelings and it existing, as opposed to avoiding the reality of it. But also that we can hold one another, but we also have a responsibility to hold ourselves, and that emotion is a gateway. So it is a death. So it is whatever we're feeling doesn't necessarily mean that anything has to change externally. It doesn't mean that anybody has to change who they are or placate our emotions. Our emotions are ours, they are our own portal. So us being able to, and this is, you know, something else as well, that if we've got this collective pain body, right, that's constantly manifesting its reflection on the external, us fighting that external reflection all the time and not allowing ourselves to descend into the feeling, it's like we get close to the despair that would take us to the death gateway, and we bounce out of it and we're going to fight and we're like, right, that fucking thing in the world needs to change. If we can actually let ourselves crush into that and be like, fuck, and then return out of it, we've released some of that energy from the collective pain body through the release of it in our own personal pain body. So that's the task, that's the mission. Release it from our personal pain body to release it from the collective pain body. And then it doesn't have to keep manifesting. And I think so much of our reality is manifested unconsciously from the pain body. So much of what happens collectively and individually is just like unconsciously happening because it's all trapped inside us anyway. All these generations that didn't have any safe spaces to be able to process what had happened, it all then got trapped and handed on and handed on and handed on. So it's constantly being re-triggered on the external again and again and again. War, injustice, suppression, oppression, all of it again and again and again and again. But actually, if we can give ourselves permission to feel it all the way through and let ourselves let go of some of it under the surface, then collectively that's a little bit less that has to be manifested externally in our collective reality for the subconscious creative force to be seen in what's going on underneath the surface. Purification, tending, grief, magic, receptivity, because as we go through that space creating, there's more space consciously, there's more space for love, there's more space for the energy that is, I want to say clean, and I don't mean that it's unclean, it's just that, like, is this being manifested from a place of awareness? Or is this coming out of me because it's been trapped inside of me? Am I replaying the same old dramas? You know, why am I replaying the same old dramas? All that jazz. But as we tend, as we open, as we descend, as we give ourselves permission to feel, as we invite in, you know, and I'm not really into like the gods and goddessy vibe in terms of like, oh, there are these like exalted beings that doesn't really do it for me. It's never really done it for me. I think the thing for me that's always felt like the anchor, which is why, you know, I started opening to Jesus and Mary Magdalene, is because I like the humans. Like, I've always been really into freedom fighters. I've always been into people that have changed the world. Like, it's the humans. I want to know how to do this in a human way. And yet, then once they are in the astral realm, being like, yo, You guys did the human thing really well, and you kind of wrote a lot about it and you taught a lot about it. So fancy coming and give me a hand. That vibe, we do have support around us. We do have, but I think the thing that's really important for me now that I feel to share is that, like, not giving up our sovereignty to any being other than spirit that is the collective of everything, other than God, other than love, other than whatever you want to fucking call it. I'd say if you're going to put yourself into something's hands, it would be those hands, whereas the other hands are still existing in duality, and he's still in that wonky, like, weird element of wonky sovereignty. But that's by the by. So, my loves, the other thing, the new version of the diary is here, 10th edition. So I've just spoken into the new galactic year, which begins on the 26th of July, but the new spin of the 260-day cycle is coming soon. And if you don't know what I'm on about and you're like, wait, that's 2 different cycles, that's 2 different dates, watch the video that I posted recently that is an introduction to Dreamspell, and you'll get to understand it. If you already know what I'm on about, or if you're intrigued, you should totally get a copy of this. So in the beginning, I introduce you to all of the elements of the Dreamspell, all the different archetypes, all the different tones, and you get an understanding of how to use the journal. Then each 13 days, you receive a poem that explains the energy of what we are moving into archetypally, because archetypes love to talk poetically. It's the same realm. And then each day you get a page a day to record your musings so that you can reflect. It also has the Galactic Mind Day, so you can look it up at the beginning and be like, oh, that's the energy of today. Lots of reflection, lots of potential. It also has the 13 moons so that you can understand the energy of the moon that we are moving through, the 28-day moon of the galactic year. And then just lots of space for reflection. It's an incredible tool for conscious evolution, and if we are going to be working this year consciously with the pain body and, moving through that galactic integrity year, it's going to be a really wonderful thing to have some space to self-reflect that we can record and then reflect upon our recordings. So I will link that below. Also, one final thing is that on the 21st of July, I am hosting a 6-day bonanza through the Galactic Mind portal between the years. So we will be wrapping up consciously the cycle of time of the yellow resonant seed, and we will be consciously moving through Mary Magdalene's feast day, the day out of time, and entering into that new year of Red Galactic Moon that I've been sharing with you about in this video. So we're going to be moving through somatic exercises and ecstatic dance. We're going to be journeying deeply into self-reflection and conscious evolution tools and inner alchemy tools. We're going to be going on some shamanic journeys where we go deep into the pain body through our higher mind, and wrapping up our learning, integrating our learning of this year so that then we can move through the portal of the day out of time in celebration and start the new cycle of the Red Galactic Moon consciously, intentionally, together. So I will put the link for the diary, and I will put the link for that beautiful SYNCHRONISE journey below. And I send you all my love. It's so beautiful to share these codes. Maybe I'll pop up again sometime soon. Let's see.